Namaste and welcome back. We're working on Viparita Karani. Viparita Karani is also known as legs up the wall pose, and it's a very, very, very delicious restorative posture. And it's also commonly found at the end of the class, so that it's also known as an inversion because your head is below your heart. And in this particular pose, there's a couple of variations that we will use and that I'm going to show you, and then you can use them however you like. And of course, you can even make them more delicious. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing is you want to be as close to the wall as possible, and you're going to want to have a couple of tools nearby. So you might want to have a bolster if you happen to have bolsters in your class, or if you offer bolsters or you happen to have a bolster. Otherwise, you can use a pillow or your own bedroom pillow, and then, or you could use a blanket, and I have my blanket folded already in 3. So it's at a 3-ply here, okay? And, or you have a block that you can use. So any of these are gonna work just fine. Now, first and foremost, we're gonna learn how to come to the wall. So in this particular pose, you typically wanna have your mat set up against the wall, the short edge of the mat against the wall. And then you're gonna you wanna take your hip as close to the wall as possible. Your shoulder might even touch the wall. And from that point, you're gonna take the hip side hand behind you, okay? And then just take the other hand down to give yourself a little bit of support, and then kind of slide your hip to touch the wall. Now I'm gonna also offer you a little bit of a trick. So that in the class environment, you don't go all the way off into your friend's mat. You wanna come to the very edge of your mat, okay? The very edgy part, okay? Then we're gonna lean back, and you can come back onto your forearms and just take your time to get down, okay? My palm of my left hand is still up, and my elbow is up, so it's not down on the mat yet. And I'm gonna very slowly start to walk my legs up the wall. A lot of people kind of get nervous about bringing their legs up the wall for some reason. I don't know why, but just encourage them to just slide their legs, drag their legs up the wall. Just drag them and let everything just drop in. You're gonna slowly relax that left forearm down. And you're gonna start to slide onto your mat. Just begin to wiggle. You're gonna inchworm a little bit here. You're gonna inchworm around, okay, until you find some comfort. Now, if your legs are against the wall, okay, you're all over the place probably. So we want to take our hands down, lift the chest, and then move the shoulders over, realign. Bend your knees to press your feet into the wall, and then inchworm your tushy towards the direction of the wall. From here, you have the option of having your hands down by your sides, relaxing the legs so they're leaning against the wall or they're flat up against the wall. The feet could be flexed, or they could be feet together and the knees apart. Lots of students really enjoy the butterfly stretch as well, or they enjoy the legs up the wall with the feet flat, the heels touching and the backs of the legs against the wall. To add on to this experience, now we discussed these tools nearby. So I'm gonna take a blanket, and I'm just gonna take my heels, my feet back down. I'm gonna push my feet into the wall to lift my hips, okay? And I'm gonna place the blanket down and my hips on top of that blanket. And that just gives me a little bit more support for my lower back if your students want to have something underneath them. If your students want a deeper back bend, a much deeper back bend, then I'm gonna encourage you to take your bolster, or you can roll your blanket up and double that bad boy. But I would just take a bolster or a couple of pillows and place the pillows underneath the hips, right at that sacrum, right at that sweet spot, and then release the legs back up. And this really opens up through the lumbar spine and thoracic. and it lets the shoulders open up, and the ribs might just sway out, and your chest just opens up really big and happy here. Shoulders are open, and it's a very interesting space to be in and occupy. So this is always really sweet. So the last option is to come out of the bolster. The last option is going to be having a bolster or a blanket on top of your feet as another variation for your students, so that they have some weight on the feet, on the legs. So this is really, really great for practices where we're breaking through myofascial release and you want to hold the space a little bit longer. So even though the toes and everything, the legs are very relaxed in the space, there's just a little bit of weight kind of securing the legs down. You can also use a strap to buckle the legs in if you prefer. So mine already has a loop, so you could loop your strap. So say if it wasn't looped, I would loop it and then pull the strap to keep my legs together here as well. Lastly, you can take that blanket and place it underneath your head so the chin comes in towards the direction of the chest, so it's more of an engagement through Jalandhara Bandha, and this way you are relaxing into consciousness, pushing all of your body weight into the earth and allowing the rest of the energy to just cascade and wash over you. Here is a good place to remain anywhere from about 3 to 5 minutes. I would even encourage to go as long as 5 to even 10 minutes if possible. I know the legs will go numb at about the 6-minute mark, and for those not as active practitioners in yoga nidra or in restorative yoga classes, then it might be numbing out or changing sensitivity closer to 2 minutes in. So it's always nice to check into some body awareness, and then recognize what you need and what you need to back off from. And then once you're in that space, you just bend your knees, let everything kind of go. There you go. You can remove your bolster. And then to get out of this pose, once you slide your feet down, you're going to bring your knees into your chest and then roll over to the side that feels the most comfortable for you. And if you had anything underneath you, you lift your hips up first and then take anything that you had from underneath you out. And then we're going to press our way up. I use the wall to help me. I press my foot into the wall, and then we come to the seated position. And it just takes a little bit of wiggling around. And then we're ready to go back to our next posture. So this particular pose, when practiced in an environment where you're going to be utilizing it in a restorative yoga class, you're going to want to already have those mats set up closer to the wall, so that way your students don't have to come out of their space to get into the space. So go ahead and set them up to start if you know that you're going to be adding legs up the wall into your practice. Namaste, y'all, and I'll see you in the next video.